Well, welcome everybody to the Marketing and Sales Unified with a Common Goal presentation. My name's Kerry Brook and I work for the Sales Cloud Product Marketing Group. So first of all, I'd like to bring Carolee up on stage and she is going to tell you a little bit about the integration and customer journey. So take it away, Carolee.
Thank you. Thank you. How is everyone this morning? Good morning. Good morning. Was everyone out last night for the music festival? Will.i.am doing everything right off his wrist? Was that not awesome? So as you've learned in the last 24 hours, the journey is the reward. And we wanted to tie together the entire Salesforce for Marketers track so that you understand a little bit more of how all the clouds of Salesforce connect together to allow you as marketers to look at all of the data about your customers. The more you know about your customers, the more you can message them the right way at the right time. Click through that next slide, sorry. And as you can see, all of the clouds across Salesforce really do help to collect that customer data. Customer data happens in the Sales Cloud, the Service Cloud, the Marketing Cloud, and the new Communities Cloud. How many people were here yesterday for the Introduction to Salesforce for Marketers session? Anyone? Good, good. Welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit deeper dive into the Sales Cloud with Carrie and DonorsChoose, but we wanted to let you know that as marketers, think about holistically all of the clouds and how your customers are interacting with you across all aspects of your business. Because that data that they are collecting from your customers is important to you as marketers, and it's important to you as salespeople, as service people, in all aspects of your business. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper in the Sales Cloud, but if you have any questions at all about integrating between the Sales Cloud and the Marketing Cloud and other items, we will be here to answer questions. Of course, in the campground as well, there's demos for all of the Sales Clouds, and we hope you join us for that today as well. And Carrie, back to you.
Thank you, Carolee. That's great for the introduction. So as I said, I'm Carrie Brook, and I'm a Product Marketing Director at Salesforce. And I'm going to talk, as Carolee said, about how you can really leverage the Sales Cloud data to make you better marketers. And when we think about 123 billion emails are sent every hour. Now, I'm not suggesting that every single one goes through ExactTarget, but a lot of them do. So of those 123 billion, how can you be sure that your emails are actually getting to the people that you want, are differentiated from the rest of the noise of those emails, and making sure that you're all getting to the goal line? Well, the way that we do that is by uniting sales and marketing. So I used to run a marketing department at a couple of startups before I came at Salesforce, and sometimes I thought that I was actually in a different business to some of my sales leaders, and I'm sure a couple of smiles in the room. And what we try and do with the Sales Cloud integrating with ExactTarget Marketing Cloud is actually get you on the same page talking about the same business. So if we think about the marketing mix between industries, and I know you're from all sorts of different industries in the audience, you know, there are some companies that are purely marketing-driven companies. Like restaurants.com. They not only market themselves, but they actually do marketing for their customers as well. And then this is a customer of ours. They're an airline manufacturer. They're actually one of the top 5 in the world, which I didn't even know. They're based out of Brazil. And they're probably nearest to 100% sales-based company. But most organizations have a mix of those two. And so having that mix of marketing and sales really driving pipeline and driving customer sales, that's where these two systems and these two processes really come into play. And then obviously, even if we're a pure B2C company, our partners very often are our salespeople to our end customers. So it's more of a B2B2C. And we need to make sure that that mix is reflected in our processes, but more importantly, in the technology that we use. So what is the common goal between marketing and sales? Well, think about what great marketing is, right? We've heard a lot about understanding the customer journey. We've heard a lot about differentiation and personalization. But also, great marketing doesn't finish when you throw a lead over the wall, right? Great marketing happens through the entire funnel. Great sales, on the other hand, actually look back into the pipeline on where those leads come from. McKinsey did a study a couple of years ago, and they found that 60% of the customer journey took place without even speaking to a single person in the organization. And for our salespeople to really understand what that journey has been is very important to actually unify those two departments. So really, when we think about the unification, it's all about the funnel. It's all about understanding driving pipe, and driving sales between those two departments. So that seems like a great theory, right? But in 2014, the CMO Council did a survey of a couple of thousand CMOs, and they still say that 38% of them still say that aligning sales and marketing is a top priority. So it hasn't occurred in every single organization, and we know that alignment and integrating sales and marketing is very important. But there's a gap between those two departments. When we think about the funnel as far as marketing is concerned, we think about creating great content. We think about creating content in such a way that people click through to the content that we want them to be looking at. And of course, that then being transferred into leads. From a salesperson perspective, they want to actually look at those qualified leads, understand the opportunities that they're managing and the territories that they own and the product lines that they own, and then they really care about close rates and the competition. So looking at bridging that gap with that one continuous process, it's not about, as I said, it's not about the gap between marketing and sales. Marketing and sales needs to understand that entire funnel right from content through to close rates. So a couple of surveys that I found on this, and the impact of that alignment is truly growth, is revenue growth and customer retention rate. So you can see 24% faster 3-year revenue growth and 36% higher customer retention rates when that alignment takes place. In terms of funnel management, 60% increase in follow-up within 24 hours if they understand the entire funnel, and 67% improvement in close rates. So the results really speak to themselves. So how does this benefit marketers? Okay, we know how it benefits sales because they get to understand the customer journey, but how does it help the people in this room? Well, we're going to go through each of these. So funnel analysis, actually being able to create compelling content, looking at what market opportunities are there, actually joint planning between sales and marketing. Again, I used to sit in a room sometimes and do my plans for marketing, and that would be done completely separately from the sales plan. So actually bringing that planning process together is very important. For marketers to really understand their competitors as well. Again, this is all about driving great content. And then also understanding partners. Like I said, even in the B2C world, the partners are very often the face of the company to the end customer. And then, of course, understanding customers as well. So getting it right, as I said, has profound implications on revenue growth. And you can see some of the studies here that we've done at ExactTarget Marketing Cloud in terms of conversion rates, and from the interaction of those sales and marketing groups. So let's have a look at funnel analysis. So if salespeople and marketing people can actually track customers back to those digital programs, it means that they can provide direct feedback into marketing on which digital programs are actually creating more customers. But most importantly, sales can actually understand as well what's driving pipe. So what is driving the leads into the top of the funnel? And it means that you can get real-time updates to those programs. So if you understand how many customers are being created by each digital program, it means that you can actually feed that back into your digital marketing programs and have a direct effect on your funnel. So better content. You know, we all talk about content creation and we all want to create, as I said, the best content out there. That's what actually drives click-through rates, that's what drives qualified leads, and ultimately, that's what drives our customers. But if we really understand the customer stories after they've implemented our product or bought our products and services, you can actually start to drive those customer stories into the funnel. Also, being able to understand support and service information. Carolee talked a little bit about Service Cloud. We have a great customer, Kiva, actually, that actually has multiple products, and they take all of their service information and actually drive that customer support information into their marketing programs. We understand orders, we understand pipe, and all of this creates better, more compelling content for our prospects. Knowing the customer as well. So, being able to look at what is their order history, right? How is that order history? How can I segment that customer base and that prospect base by their order history? So if we run a particular program, what orders does that produce? What is the case history? And as well, it helps us drive not only prospect marketing, not only leads at the top of the funnel, but we actually start to create much more compelling content as well for our customers. And selling to customers is always easier and cheaper, of course, than selling to brand new prospects. Also, there's this concept of opportunity marketing. So we have all of these opportunities in the funnel that came from these great leads that we've created. But how do we actually continue to market down that pipeline, down that funnel? Again, understanding those customer stories. Those opportunities are probably in that decision-making point where they might be looking at you versus the competition. Well, if we can drive that competitive information and we can look at where we're winning against competitors and where we're losing, and actually drive that information into our marketing programs, again, it means that we have much more compelling programs. Understanding as well what makes up the pipe. So what segment are people, what segment do we have opportunities in? What competitors are we actually competing against with our opportunities? And again, driving that support information into those opportunity marketing programs as well is vitally important. And then connecting to your customers through partners. So by actually looking in Sales Cloud at which partners are driving which opportunities and which partners are driving closed deals, we can really understand what is actually driving that pipe. Also creating communities with our partners. If we are a B2B2C world, then it means that you're actually getting, again, compelling content to those end customers by creating those communities which help your partners not only communicate with you, but also with your end customers as well. And then making planning valuable. I used to run a budgeting and planning application, so I actually came from the finance world, and you can tell that during budget time, you're probably the most hated person in the organization. Like, nobody likes planning, and I'm not saying that this integration is going to make planning fun, but it definitely will make it more collaborative. It'll definitely make sure that your sales and marketing people are on the same page and that you actually have that 360 view of the campaigns. What this also drives is understanding not only the revenue that your programs are creating, but most importantly, the cost of those programs. And actually, people have started to look at the margin of creating new leads and new customers by pulling in all of that margin, that cost information, and also the revenue information. So now we're going to look at a video from DonorsChoose. Sorry.
DonorsChoose.org makes it easy for anyone to give to classrooms in need. Public school teachers from across the country can go onto our website and request basic supplies that they need for the classroom, and then individual donors can support those projects, can kind of browse through them and pick the ones that they really care about. We have over 1 million supporters who pick classroom projects and fund them. And email is a really critical way for us to keep in touch with those supporters over the years. So Monday afternoon, May 21st, we heard on the news that there was a devastating tornado in Moore, Oklahoma. We found out that it had completely destroyed 2 public schools and had inflicted damage on a bunch of other schools. Tuesday morning, first thing, we sent out an email to all of the donors that had previously supported natural disaster campaigns, as well as our entire donor base. So by about 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, we were able to raise a couple $100,000 through our ExactTarget emails to support those teachers. In total, we were able to raise about $1 million to support more schools. The speed of allowing people to help after a natural disaster is really important. It's really critical to get out a message within the first 24 hours. For us to be able to use ExactTarget and our Salesforce integration made it really easy. We didn't have to spend time pulling data or creating lists. We already had it all ready to go. So ExactTarget allows us to communicate directly with our community, and Salesforce allows us to do it in a way that's really data-driven and targeted.
So I'm going to introduce now Morgan Kazan from DonorsChoose, and I'm going to ask her a couple of questions, and then we're actually going to open it up to the audience to ask questions of either me or Morgan or our integration crew over here. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's such a great story. It's such a great story. So what role do you play in the organization?
Sure. So you guys just saw Katie Bisbee, our CMO, talk a little bit about DonorsChoose and how we work. And just to build on that, this year we'll bring in almost $75 million in classroom resources to public schools across the country. And so while we are a nonprofit, in a lot of ways we operate like an e-commerce company. Our marketing team is really focused on getting donors to our site, having them pick out a project, having them open up their wallet and execute a transaction. And email is a huge part of making that happen. So for my role, I'm on the email marketing team, and I'm really happy that we've just increased our team by 50%. There's now 2 of us, so that's been really nice to have.
That's growth.
And so we email our donors and teacher base through ExactTarget and Salesforce.
And tell me a little bit about the challenges or the business goals that you had that drove you to look at an ExactTarget and a Sales Cloud solution.
Yeah, so for us, one of our biggest challenges is repeat business, and that means getting a donor to give again. And compared to some other online shopping experiences, you're not always getting something concrete in return when you make a donation. You're not getting, a cool kitchen gadget or a pair of shoes in the mail. You really have to feel connected to that classroom, to that project, and you have to feel inspired by that classroom that needs dictionaries or the teacher that wants to take their students on a field trip. So for us, our challenge is how do we foster that connection? Mm-hmm. How do we use our data and our email to tell a story, to connect with the donors, to personalize a call to action or to personalize a recommendation, or even to be scalable on that, and to ultimately inspire someone to get behind a classroom. And that's what led us to the integration.
And I have to say, after speaking to Morgan the first time, I went directly on the site, and I do a lot through Kiva before, but I have to say the connection that I had with the school teacher, that I finished her project and she bought the books, and then she sent me a photo of the kids reading the books, and I'm like, that's like a pair of shoes. Well, almost.
Yeah.
It's almost instant gratification.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I encourage all of you to do it. So tell me a little bit about what you implemented and kind of what that flow looks like in terms of the business process.
So our business development team was already using Salesforce to manage their contacts, and we were using ExactTarget to send our emails. So it just made sense to kind of build on that. And so the first thing we did was figure out how to import all of our donors into Salesforce, and figure out how to have that sync nightly, have that data refresh so it's always at our fingertips, and we made sure to also include a lot of personalization fields and attributes, so we had that flexibility to send a personalized blast or schedule some automation. So that was really our first step in the implementation, and that's basically what we have right now. So.
And then what are some of the benefits and, like you experienced, especially with the hurricane that they were talking about?
Yeah, so you saw Katie talk about the more tornado, and for that, it really allowed us to react quickly and segment our data on the fly. With Salesforce, we were able to tag donors as first responders, and for us, those are people who had previously given to a natural disaster. And in ExactTarget, we had templates ready to go, so it was really quick to get the email out. We knew it was critical to get it out within 24 hours, and we were able to get it out to those people and let them know how to help. So that was a huge benefit for that particular case. Like on a broader scope, it just lets us be more targeted with our content. I talked about some of those attributes that we had added, and with those we can really send people a classroom recommendation that might speak to them. And it doesn't have to be like crazy complex data. It's even something like a zip code. If we can send you a classroom that might be in your neighborhood or down the block and you get that, we've seen a huge increase in conversion rates just by adding that like hyperlocal piece. So that was great. And another benefit that we've seen is it's kind of across the org. So we use this, our business development team uses Salesforce, and also our customer relations team. It gives them a better insight into the donor who might be like asking them for questions, and we can look at their history and just have a kind of a more unified picture.
That's great. And what's the next big thing then for DonorsChoose?
So yeah, I guess we're excited about two areas in the next school year or so. One being awareness. And kind of building on some of our partnerships to bring awareness to DonorsChoose and to communities in need. Some recent partnerships that we had were with Warby Parker, who's a fellow ExactTarget client, and that was last year, and that was really exciting. And this school year, both Google and Staples have done huge partnerships with us to get supplies into the classroom, which has been great to see. And then the other piece is retention. At ExactTarget, or at Connections, we've heard so much about Journey Builder and predictive intelligence. So just kind of, exploring those tools, seeing how we can harness them if they make sense for us, and how to ultimately give a better experience to donors and to teachers and to users on our site.
Yeah, I mean, again, from a donor's perspective, actually having information sent to me that's based on my previous donations would really, it would spark a thought that I would then go back on the site.
Yeah. And that's something that we record in Salesforce. We have like the last teacher that you gave to and the last project you donated to. So that all helps with the next message that you'll receive.
That's great. That's great. Anything else to wrap up with, or should we turn it over to the audience? Okay. So we actually have a roving mic, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions for DonorsChoose. So yes, over here.
So it sounds like you went through the integration of ExactTarget and Salesforce, is that right?
Yes.
So we're in a similar situation. We've been using ExactTarget. We've just brought Salesforce on. Can you tell us a little bit more about sort of the process you went through and what sort of workload and support that you needed to do that?
Yeah, so I think one of the first things we did was sit down with our tech team to figure out like how to get the data into Salesforce, because we didn't really know. So we sat with them, we kind of looked through what are important fields and attributes and pieces of information, because there's so much data that you get with every, like on your website, you got to figure out what's going to be the best thing to have on that person's record. So that took a while, and then on the tech team, I feel like that process of getting the whole sync set up was a few weeks, but we did it all in-house, if I remember correctly. And it was pretty simple on that route. So
that's good. Yep.
Anything different you would recommend? Anything differently that you would recommend? We're actually looking at moving, but at the same time moving from a CRM system we have today to Salesforce, Sales Cloud, and Marketing Cloud. So we kind of have the opportunity to set it all up fresh that first time. Is there anything differently you might recommend thinking of it from that perspective?
Not sure. I mean, I think that's to be a great position to be in. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to like, worry about the data stuff. But no, I mean, I think I'm very happy with our implementation. So
I think from what I've seen of other customers, like you say, doing both from scratch at the beginning sometimes seems the more daunting prospect, and I'm sure that's what you're thinking. Again, embarking on these projects is never easy. However, you do get the advantage of being able to, just as I was saying, actually look at the entire funnel and design both systems around one funnel. Very often what we've seen in other companies, we've had to change some of the configuration and the fields once we've actually put in one system after the other one. But you get the chance to actually think of that holistically and take time on that initial requirements gathering, and that will always true out for sure. Yeah.
Just departing a little bit from the technical piece, but also related, is the actual process of getting the sales and marketing teams to work together to determine what's happening in the funnel before the 60% before sales sees anything. What is marketing doing then? What is marketing doing after the point the salespeople become involved? Did you have any trouble with adopting the concept of the two groups working together? And we touched on it really briefly at the beginning when we said, sometimes there's a hiccup there.
Oh, yeah.
what maybe other customers or maybe at DonorsChoose?
yeah, well, for us, I feel like we're in a unique position because the marketing team, in essence, is almost like the sales team. Like a lead for us is a first-time donor, so we're kind of like there through the whole process. So I'm not sure if you've experienced any the more separate teams.
Yeah, I think the longer the funnel, the more problems arise. So your funnel is almost immediate.
Mm-hmm.
A lead becomes a donor, and then that's effectively your customer. Executive buy-in, I know that sounds that trivial, or yes, of course we'll get that, but it's got to be real buy-in. Like, you can't have a VP of sales who then goes back to his team or her team and says, look, don't worry, I got this. You can figure out your Sales Cloud stuff and marketing will do its thing, right? Because that never happens either, right? So you need buy-in from the executive teams for sure. But I would also say actually taking some folks from the field teams, from sales, and really saying to them, look, the leads are your leads, right? It's not that they're my leads in marketing, they're your leads. This is what's going to create your quota for the year. So what do you want to see from marketing and from your digital programs? What do you want to see in that data? Like, how is it really going to help you drive pipe and mature pipe to close deals? So taking executive sponsorship, but then, as I said, sort of just takes people from the field, right? And you'll know the ones too. It's the ones that really love the reporting on the Sales Cloud, right? It's the ones that are actually excited by technology. Get some of those involved in the process as well. And have your marketing people carry a bag for a week. That's always good too. So we understand sales. Making you work for your money, Kristen.
Hello. So I work for a large enterprise, FedEx, and we have obviously a large sales team and we have a large marketing team. So respective to the data, so when a salesperson is engaging with a prospect or a lead, how does that data really work for marketing, considering privacy, and because that's a concern we have right now. So if I want to send them an email and I don't have their permission to send that email, but they still have that one-to-one relationship with the salesperson. So I was curious if that was an issue for your organization, and how did you guys address that?
So for our donors, it wasn't an issue because you make a donation and then you're kind of in our system and you're opted into getting emails. So any sort of messaging that we sent. I mentioned that our business development team uses Salesforce, and the marketing team doesn't really outreach to their contacts as much, and when we do, it's kind of with their knowledge and consent, and we do something like a quarterly touch point email. So I feel like there's definitely a conversation happening before the marketing team kind of sends those people emails. But some of our business development contacts who are also donors are in our flow as well, and that's great for us. We don't step on anyone's toes in that essence, but we're not like reaching out to them individually through Salesforce or ExactTarget.
Yeah, and I think the data has to be synced up between the two systems on the opt-outs. So, you can have opt-out fields in Sales Cloud and opt-out fields for ExactTarget. And that's probably just one of the pieces of data that you should think about sending over when you actually send over the leads. The good thing is that you'll be able to, as well, look at the segmentation through to close. And I think that was one of the things from DonorsChoose's perspective was, like they said, understanding which people are going to be most responsive and getting to them first, and being able to segment kind of their audience. But then obviously from a privacy perspective, making sure that data syncs up from the opt-in, opt-out perspective.
Another question.
Great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think I have a big enough mouth. I don't really Are you utilizing campaigns to track non-responders, responders, and how are you displaying click-throughs, responders in Salesforce?
Yeah, so we aren't using campaigns in Salesforce really. We are using we're looking most of our analytics in ExactTarget right now, and one of the things we want to work on is recording more of that data into Salesforce, and that also takes up space as well. So that's something that we're kind of figuring out how to work together on. So right now we're looking at some of that data just within ExactTarget, the click-through, the responses, and going from there.
And in previous jobs, like I said, when I was running marketing, that's effectively Sales Cloud was where I did all of my reporting from. My marketing automation system wasn't as good as ExactTarget, so I'm not going to say who it was. But it wasn't that good, and it wasn't integrated. And so I basically I did utilize campaigns in Salesforce and did all my segmentation and my click-through rates, my A/B testing. I actually looked at through campaigns in Sales Cloud.
So I actually have donated to DonorsChoose.org, and I was introduced by a vendor of ours who gave a Christmas gift, and it was you could have a backpack or something, or you could donate to DonorsChoose, which I did. And then I subsequently have added more funds, but I've actually had 4 or 5 times where I've donated, but none of my classroom projects have funded, so kudos to you for picking the right one that funded. But my question is, I was thinking that, that personal connection of a donor to the classroom, mine is always very personal. I live 1,100 miles from my hometown, but I choose hometown projects. And I was thinking that if you had some way, and I'm wondering if you do, have some way to tie together my contacts from the same geographic origin or geographic location to to leverage my personal endorsement to say, hey, I donated to this. Would you like to donate too, and fund an iPad for this classroom?
Yeah.
Great.
I was wondering if you were doing that. I try to do it, through Facebook and some other things to get it out there. But if there are other tools through the Marketing Cloud or anything that you could use.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your donations. And yeah, we do have something on our site where you can find your friends who have donated, search via email. We don't do anything through ExactTarget or Salesforce on that front. It's more of a website feature, and then they can be alerted to anytime you donate, and we send a transactional email or a triggered email based on that. So that's so we're doing something like that.
So I think I'm getting the nod at the back. So we'll move from the front so these guys can get set up. Apologies if we ran over a little bit, and we'll hang out. So we'll hang out if you have other questions, because I saw some more hands up. But thank you very much, and thank you to DonorsChoose especially.